The capital of Ohio is the capital of the fitness world. The Arnold Sports Festival is back, and with it, the Arnold Strongman Classic. Welcome inside the Columbus Convention Center, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Sean Woodland with Lawrence Chalet. Dr. Bill Crawford is here as well, and Kiki Dixon is out tracking down athletes. We are back. It has been a long time, and it's great to finally be back here with a crowd and live action in the Strongman Classic.
Yes, the last time we were here in 2020, we had a smaller crowd because of the COVID restrictions. Now we can have a larger crowd. We're back on the high altar of strength. We've got new athletes. We've got new events. A lot of questions are going to be answered and asked this weekend. They're going to pan out for the whole season.
And Laz, it's been a while since you've been here, and now you're on the other side of things. What's this experience like for you to see this from a different perspective?
Yeah, it's been 10 years since I've been to the Arnold Classic. I am extremely excited to be here. We have incredible athletes, incredible different events this year than we're used to seeing. It's going to be a hell of a show.
The Arnold Strongman Classic is a large part of a gigantic event that is the Arnold Sports Festival. This event is estimated to bring in about $50 million to the city of Columbus. You can see why. Just 250,000 spectators and then another 20,000 athletes competing here in more than 60 sports and events. And we have a loaded field here at the Arnold Strongman Classic. And the last time we saw these athletes together when we got to see them in person was back in October at the Rogue Invitational. For the first time ever at that competition, they added strongman to it. It was held in Austin, Texas at Dell Diamond in Round Rock. 5 different events. We started with the Rogue Elephant Bar deadlift 1 rep max, and it was JF Caron, no shock there, who put up nearly 1,000 pounds to win the event. After that, we went to the Sear Dumbbell Ladder, and if you watch this event live, you saw one of the most incredible performances that you've probably seen in a while, and that was courtesy of Oleksii Novikov, who was the only man to clear the whole ladder, put 300 pounds with his right arm over his head to take the event. Then, one of the most formidable implements in the world of strongman, the Wheel of Pain, and this is where the battle between Tom Stoltman and Martins Licis really started to develop. Stoltman beat Licis by 4 feet, grabs the event win, and the battle was on. Event 4 was a combination of the yoke carry for distance and then the log lift for reps. And Mateusz Kieliszkowski absolutely smashed this event to pick up his first event win of the competition, and that put him in contention for a spot on the podium. Then we moved to the final event, the stones over the hitching post. And we mentioned Novikov's performance in the Sear Dumbbell Ladder. What Martins Licis did on this event was incredible. It locked up the event win for him as he blitzed through those stones, and he edges out Tom Stoltman for the Rogue Invitational Championship. 45 total points for Licis to grab the title. Stoltman finishes in second. Oleksii Novikov was third, and Mateusz Kieliszkowski, who started in dead last after the first event, was able to work his way all the way up into 4th place. And Laz, you and I got to call that final event and see Martins just rip through those stones. That is one of the most incredible things I have seen in my short time in this sport.
Just that image of Martins kind of roaring at the end there, saying the dragon is back. And we know, well, going into that competition, there was question marks. He was coming back from injury, but he proved when it comes to the big stage, he lifts his level and he performs. He's here at the Arnolds today. This is the one show he's not been able to capture. He is a hungry man, and he's here to win.
Tom Stoltman came into that competition having won the World's Strongest Man, and he showed up at the Rogue Invitational, took second, and proved that his performance in Sacramento was not a fluke.
Not a fluke whatsoever. So Tom really showed that he has the ability to do some of the static events that he had worked on for some time. He also had seen implements he had not seen before and performed very well on the Wheel of Pain. The dumbbell, he actually had shown some improvement in the dumbbell. I think that what you're going to see him do is continue to develop this momentum that he's gotten. He'd come off of a competition the weekend before and placed second at the Rogue Invitational, just like this weekend, coming in off of a big competition that he had won coming in the weekend afterwards. What he's got is a lot of momentum and a lot of confidence.
We have a full schedule for the 2022 Strongman calendar. And we kick things off here at the Arnold Strongman Classic, the Shaw Classic. That's back. That's going to happen in August. And then the Rogue Invitational for the second straight year will feature a Strongman competition. That takes place later on this year. But you mentioned it, Bill, coming into the season, Tom Stoltman has a ton of momentum.
Yes, he does. He's the 2021 World's Strongest Man. He's done some other incredible feats. He's the current king of stones. We love watching him do those static events. What he's done, though, is he's really picked up some of the other events that he's not excelled at in the past. As we mentioned before, his static strength. But what he's really shown is that he's able to improve himself. He's able to get into a competition and stay inside of the competition and come to the end ready to win.
Lawrence, we saw a healthy Martins Licis at the Rogue Invitational. We saw what he's capable of there. Now we get a whole season of a healthy Martins Licis.
And everyone, if you're a strongman fan, you have to be excited about this prospect. Winning one competition is one thing, but if you want to prove that you are the best, you need those back-to-back wins. And we could have some incredible head-to-head contests this year, the likes of Tom Stoltman, Kiliashkovsky when he returns, Licis, and a whole host of hungry athletes that just keep improving.
We have 10 of the strongest men in the world here at the Arnold Strongman Classic, vying for one of the most prestigious titles in the sport.
I'm Martins.
I'm Jeff Caron.
Меня зовут Евгений Марков.
Luke Stoltman.
Maxime Boudreault.
I am Oleksii Novikov.
Trey Mitchell. Tom Stoltman.
I am Rob Kearney.
My name is Bobby Thompson.
Arnold Strongman is one of the biggest shows in strongman.
It's arguably the most prestigious strongman competition we have in the world.
It's the heaviest show of the year.
I think if I put it into words, I'd be doing how excited I am and injustice. This weekend we have 5 big events, very heavy.
For the first time, max squat.
Arguably the first time I think any of us have done a max squat in a strongman event.
Such a great event, such a real test of strength.
If we have a really good day, we squat 1,000 pounds.
It will be followed by giant dumbbell for reps.
Dumbbell is really one of the best events.
It's 125 kilos, which is a big man, and we got to press that with one arm.
Самое лучшее упражнение, которое у меня получается, что будет на Arnold Classic, это гантели.
And then a max weight log press.
You know, we could see a really big weight pushed on the legend Austrian Oak. A lot of good presser. I think it will be my worst event here this weekend.
I mean, it's log press, and I'm Bobby Thompson, so I'm not really too worried about that.
I believe I'm the best log presser in the world.
Then we have a 880-pound frame carry uphill because 880 is not hard enough already.
It's the grip test, and it's all about the grip.
Not looking forward to it, but, you know.
Frame walk is going to be one of my strongest.
My goal for me is making one strike, you know, no drop.
And to finish it all off, a natural stone that's 405-ish pounds to the shoulder for max reps.
You know, on a good day, I think I could do 4 or 5 reps, do what Mateus did.
But it really is a toss-up as to who's going to be able to just show up and perform and go all out on that final event to see who really pushes up into the podium.
We're competing, like I say, the best guys in the world. We've got Tom Stoltman, my brother, the current world's strongest man. We're all here for the same reason, to win the show, and it's going to be a good battle.
And then there's Novikov.
I wins World Strongest Man 2020, World Ultimate Strongman twice.
I think the guy that looks the most well-rounded coming into the show is Martins.
Been wanting to claim this title for a long time, so I'm putting all my heart into this one.
Basically stay as close as I can to Martins because he's probably going to be one of the favorites to win.
JF Caron, who's one of the greatest strongmen out there.
Mr. Consistent, he's a staple.
Maybe 5 guys different can win.
It really is about who shows up, who prepped the best, who can recover the most in between the 2 days, and really just who doesn't make any mistakes.
Here are the 10 men who will be vying for the title of Arnold Strongman Classic champion. And for the first time in more than 10 years, we do not have a returning champion in the field. And for the first time since 2014, a guy not named Zydrunas Savickas, Brian Shaw, or Hafthor Bjornsson is going to win this thing. So we are going to crown a new champion. Now, one man you do not see on that list is Mateusz Kiliashkovsky. He had to withdraw because of injury. What does his absence mean for these competitors?
Well, these events really lined up very well for Mateusz. He's a prodigious lifter in many of these events. You see him here with this 320-pound Rogue dumbbell. He did fantastic with the frame carry. He had a dominant performance in 2020, winning 4 of the 6 events. He'd improved his static strength some. I think this really lined up for him. If he would place in the top half of this squat event, he was the man to beat.
It looks like once again we might have a good battle developing for the top of the podium between Licis, you heard his name a lot from the competitors there, and Tom Stoltman. Let's start with Licis. What makes him so good?
Yeah, all the athletes are there talking about him. The reason they are talking about him is when you look at the events, you see no obvious weakness. I think when you look at every athlete, there's maybe one event they drop some points on. But Martins Licis is an extremely consistent athlete, and I think for someone like Tom Stoltman, it's maybe not his absolute best events.
Meanwhile, Tom Stoltman comes in, and you've mentioned it, the word momentum. The last 3 competitions in which he's competed, 2 firsts and a second.
Yes, and last weekend he was at Britain's Strongest Man, which he won, and there were 5 events, and Laws and I were talking. He was unbeatable. I don't think anybody in the world could have beaten him, particularly at those events. So he comes in with that momentum from last weekend, and just like at the Rogue Invitational, he's coming back the weekend after having a big weekend. So he has a lot of momentum, and I think he's just going to figure out how to get past that first event and keep moving.
And Stoltman is looking to continue the tear that he has been on recently and really establish himself as the top guy in the sport of strongman heading into 2022.
I'm Tom Stoltman. I'm from Scotland, and I'm a professional strongman.
Here goes the world's strongest man.
He's just such an incredibly talented athlete. He's one of those guys, if he believes he can win it, he can.
Who needs experience when you have the strength of Tom Stoltman?
This is an incredible performance from the Scotsman.
I'm here, fighting.
Tom Stoltman coming up with a performance that he needs, 52.06 seconds.
Unbelievable. He hasn't put a foot wrong. £911. He's getting stronger every time we see him compete. He's going to be over the moon with that lift.
Strongman is such a brutal sport. At the end of the day, you have to put your life and soul into it.
This is why he is the king of the stones. It doesn't matter what stones you put in front of Tom Stoltman, he lifts them.
And that is unbelievable. Kiki Dixon is the 4th member of our broadcast team, and she caught up with Tom Stoltman earlier today.
Tom, this is your first appearance at the Arnold Strongman Classic. What does it mean to you?
Yeah, it means everything to be here. I waited a long time to be here, and now I'm here. I'm going to put on a show.
Any competitors that you have your eye on?
Obviously, the Martins Licis, Novikovs and stuff, but I'm ready to just, like I said, concentrate on myself and put on a show. So.
You put on a show last weekend as well, being crowned 2-time Britain's Strongest Man. How do you use that energy and momentum and bring it into this weekend?
Yeah, well, I always wanted to start 2022 off of a bang. I did that, winning it by 12.5 points, and didn't get out of 3rd gear, so I'm nice and fresh against the best guys in the world, and what better time to do it on an Arnold stage as well. So.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Thank you, Kiki, and we'll be back in just a little bit to preview event number 1 for the Arnold Strongman Classic, the 1-rep max back squat. But right now we're going to shift gears and welcome in 5-time CrossFit Games competitor Dan Bailey. Dan, thanks so much for being here. It's hometown. How you doing today?
Doing great. Actually just knocked out 22.2.
Oh, man, I'm sorry.
It went well. It is a trap. It's a fun workout if any of you are going to try it, but I'm doing well.
Well, we are officially underway in the CrossFit Games season, just 2 weeks in now, in a season that ends in August at the 2022 CrossFit Games in Madison, Wisconsin. But we've had some great events in the offseason so far. We had the Rogue Invitational back in October, followed that up with the Dubai CrossFit Championship, and then Wadapalooza. What were your biggest takeaways on the men's side of competition in the offseason?
Yeah, the first event we want to take a look at is the Rogue Invitational, and there's one name that stands out there, and that's Justin Medeiros, our 2-time champ, winner of the Rogue Invitational again, and he took second and beat second place by 80 points, never finishing outside of the top 5. So just another dominant performance for Justin heading into the 2022 season. Right on his heels is Pat Vellner, though, down in Wadapalooza. He was a 3-time repeat champion there. If anyone can take down Justin, Pat Vellner is going to actually be the guy to do it. Roman Karenikov is a guy who won the Dubai Fitness Championship. We've seen a lot of success from him in the Open and in European events, just not at the games yet. He actually just got a visa to be able to come to the United States and hopefully this year compete in the 2022 CrossFit Games.
He's a fun guy to watch. He has home run potential. Hopefully we can watch him compete in person. What about the women's side?
Yeah, on the women's side, again at the Rogue Invitational, there's really one name we're looking at. That's Tia Toomey. She's coming off, again, this is the third time she's won the Rogue Invitational. Wins by a comfortable 65-point margin, so she's setting herself up for a record year in 2022. Down in Dubai, Laura Horvath came off an incredible second-place finish at the CrossFit Games. Didn't finish outside of the top 5 in any event except for one in Dubai. She's putting in the work to challenge Tia, and she is the one to do it. At Wadapalooza, Emma McQuaid from Ireland was actually the name or the person to watch. Exciting finish. She was never in the lead the entire weekend until the last event. Tells us she can compete under pressure. She's consistently finished higher at the games every time she's competed there, with her highest finish last year in 2021.
You mentioned Tia Toomey winning the Rogue Invitational, and she had a pretty eventful offseason. She wasn't only trying to train to be a CrossFit competitor, she was training to help Australia qualify for the 2022 Winter Olympics in bobsled, and we talked to her about that earlier today.
You know, when I was presented the opportunity to actually go and try out a completely different sport and try and qualify for the Winter Olympics in just a short 3 months, it was something that I definitely jumped at, and I'm really glad that I did. I have no regrets. It was an experience that I was able to learn so much about myself. I was able to learn a completely different sport and what it took to make it to the Olympics. And, I think that everything that I learned, everything that I had to adjust and essentially embrace, I am able to utilize that both, personally as an individual, but also as an athlete. And I think that the adversity and everything that I faced is just something that's character building and something that I will be able to use for the future ahead.
Tia was able to help Australia qualify. Unfortunately, she was not able to compete. And had she been able to compete over in China, she would have represented Australia in 2016 in the Summer Olympics in weightlifting and then done it again 6 years later in the Winter Olympics. Just absolutely incredible, but how she was able to shift gears and be successful at a sport that she'd never done before.
Yeah, the last thing that if I'm another athlete on the women's side that I want to hear is that Tia has learned more to become a better mentally, capable athlete, a better physically capable athlete. Her training recently, you see her pushing the bobsled there, was probably largely on one end of the fitness spectrum, right? So she hasn't been training a whole lot just for the CrossFit Games, probably a lot of sprints, probably a lot of weightlifting, but now she's going to be tested in the Open in all the different aspects of those things, and she's doing great so far in the first 2 workouts, so I'd imagine she's doing great in this one coming up.
And now she's focused primarily on trying to do something that no one has ever done before, and that's win 6 CrossFit Games championships in a row. And look, there's death, there's taxes, and there's Tia Toomey. If she's in the field, she's probably going to win.
Yeah, it's really hers to lose. And she's one of those athletes, like we mentioned, maybe she's not focusing her training on all things CrossFit right now, but she doesn't really have to. She's just that good. She's got the pedigree of 5 championships under her belt. She knows what needs to be done in the Open is not her focus going into the 2022 season.
There was some big offseason news regarding another woman who finished on the podium with Tia Toomey at the CrossFit Games, and that was Annie Thorisdottir. We expected her to continue that momentum that she gained after finishing 3rd at the Games last year, coming to this season as one of the favorites on the individual side. Now she's going team. She gets Tola Moraquino, Lauren Fisher, and Con Porter, and we'll see what they're able to accomplish here.
I'm super excited about it. The Mayhem team absolutely dominated the competition last year, so now they're really going to get a challenge from Annie and these other athletes and their other Games athletes who are going to all be training together. So that's going to present a problem for Mayhem coming into 2022.
Well, let's welcome in the woman who has won the CrossFit Games twice, who stood on the podium last year and who is now going team. She's known as Iceland Annie. Annie Thorisdottir joining us. Annie, thanks so much for doing this. How are you doing today?
Hi, thank you. I'm doing great.
You've had some time now between your performance at the CrossFit Games to look back on that performance when you finished 3rd. What stands out the most to you about what took place in Madison back in 2021?
Whoa, what stands out the most? There's obviously a few events that stand out, but I think Me just like finding myself a little bit as an athlete again stands out the most. Like getting the confidence in my body and my mind. And like every year you learn something, but wow, I learned a lot this year. Like I learned so much this year about myself, both mentally and physically. And one of the biggest things that I took away from it is experience. Like the experience pays off. That was what got me through the games this year, was having all of those years and my body knew what to do. And yeah, then you just follow and you see what happens, and everything came together the way it did.
Given the success that you had last season as an individual, why was now this the right time to go team?
Well, honestly, I've thought about going team multiple years. I've tried out, like obviously done the invitationals a few times, and I've never been on a team. I've never been in a team sport. I did gymnastics, I did ballet, I did pole vaulting. I never did like a team sport. And I've always wanted to try it out. And I don't know, it felt like this was the right year to do it, because I don't know for how many more years Rich is going to compete. And I want to make sure I get to go up against him. I'm going to be honest, like that. I didn't want to decide to go team after 1 year or 2 years or something. I can always go back to individual. Me making a decision to go team this year means nothing about the future. It just means I'm doing a team this year. I've competed as an individual for so many years, and jumped on it, and it's really, really cool.
You recently hosted the Reykjavik International Games, and your team divided up into pairs and competed, and you finished first and second in that competition. What did you learn about your team in that experience?
We didn't finish first and second in that competition.
I thought you did, my fault.
No worries. But we learned, well, we had just been trained together for like, I don't know, like a week at that point, because first Tola had COVID and then I got COVID, and I kind of had COVID competing there as well. But I was done. I was not giving it to anyone else, but like I was recovering. So we had only had like maybe a week of training together, but it was kind of a great way for us to get to know each other even better, because that's where you see a lot, like a different side of people competing. But it's been pretty crazy how well we all get along. Like I chose some really freaking good people, like not just athletes, but people. And honestly, that was what matters the most to me. Like, yes, I'm competing to win, and I know we're the underdogs going in, but we're not going to make it easy for Rich and Mayhem to get on top of the podium. That's for sure. We're doing everything that we can to learn to work together and become better athletes, and we really are. But like they're really, really good people, very easy to get along. Like we all get so well along, so it's been a great experience so far.
Well, Annie, thank you so much for taking the time to do this, and I have to personally thank you and Katrin for writing that children's book. I think I've read it about 25, 30 times with my son already. He's a big fan, so I know that was a great experience for you, and I think people should definitely check it out. It has a great message.
So happy to hear that. Yes, it's probably one of the things. Yes, I've stood on the podium 6 times, I don't know. But that book, wow, I am so proud of that book.
You should be. It's a great read. People should check it out. It's called What is the Way, and you can find it on Amazon or wherever you buy books. So thanks a lot, Annie. Really appreciate it. Take care.
Thank you.
Best of luck. You have been on a team with Annie Thorisdottir before. What's it like competing with her in that setting?
I mean, the first thing, I must have missed my invitation in the mail. Like I didn't get one. And, you know, Annie, I'm not sure what happened there, but maybe it got lost in the shuffle. Annie, she really raises the level of performance of everybody around her. She's that good. She's been in the sport for that long. She has that capability. She's an incredible communicator and strategist when it comes to dissecting a workout. So all the other athletes are in great hands, and I think come Madison, hopefully if they make it there, which I believe that they will, it'll be a great competition between Mayhem and them.
Well, Dan, thanks so much for making the 20-minute drive up here to join us. Really appreciate it. We'll have more CrossFit coverage throughout the weekend, but right now we want to go back to Kiki Dixon, who's standing by with Martins Licis.
Martins, in your last competition, your strategy seemed to be at the Rogue Invitational, take those second place finishes all the way to the bank with an exciting finish at the end. Here, new event, Arnold Strongman Classic, new tasks at hand. What's your plan of attack for this weekend?
Same thing as before. I got to avoid all these interviews to preserve my energy. So second place until the very end, get first, and then call it a win.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to talk with me. The last couple of years, you've been battling injuries. You still had a great finish at that Rogue Invitational. How dangerous are you coming into a competition feeling healthier?
I'm ready to win. I'm here to win it.
We look forward to seeing it.
Thank you very much.
Here's the schedule for day one of 2 total days of the Arnold Strongman Classic. We're going to kick things off at 2:55 Eastern with the double T squat, the 1-rep max squat. Then the second event, the monster dumbbell for reps, and then we'll wrap things up again at 6:45 p.m. Eastern time here on the Rogue Iron Game. Welcome back in Lawrence Chalet and Dr. Bill Crawford. For the first time at this competition, we got the 1-rep max back squat. That's going to be cool to watch.
I am absolutely super excited for the back squat. JF Caron looking very, very mean and focused out the back there, just walked past us, but I think we're going to see some incredible numbers today. The back squat, we haven't seen it, and it's going to be exciting.
And we're using the T-bar, Dr. Bill, and what's the difference between squatting with that implement as opposed to squatting with just your regular straight barbell?
Well, some of it's going to be the setup. This is a different implement for the athletes. It does have a camber on it, so it'll probably give some of the athletes an advantage because the strongmen aren't quite as flexible with this bar, with a regular straight bar sometimes. And you can move your hands out a little bit. You don't have to set your hands quite as high. But the setup, you might actually rock with this bar. It will have very little forgiving nature to it if you miss that middle ground. So camber bar instead of a straight bar, very excited. This is a great event.
And Laws, Dr. Bill mentioned JF Caron. And Dr. Bill, I'll go back to you on this because I know you're going to talk about that in a second, but he's got to be a favorite anytime you roll a barbell out there.
Well, absolutely. He's great at static strength, and he had that fantastic deadlift at the Rogue Invitational. Anytime you can squat a lot of weight, you've also typically got a very good deadlift. He was in 1,000-pound deadlift shape at the Rogue Invitational. He's had great training, and he's had some experience with this implement that he's trained with at home, and you can see that static strength is something he's always been quite good at. So I think he's going to really be one of the four guys that we're looking at more intently.
And Laz, I know you agree with Dr. Bill when you say Absolutely. That JF could be a favorite here, but other than the guys that you expect to be at the top, who are some individuals who might be able to make some noise here in event number one?
Well, when we look at the training lifts, Rob Kearney has put 960 pounds up in training. Now, that doesn't mean anything when it comes to competition, but it shows he's in good form, and if he's peaked right, we might see something massive, maybe close to 1,000 pounds from Rob. Also, Trey Mitchell, that guy is built for power. When it comes to pressing, squatting, deadlifting, he loves these type of events. He looks big, he looks powerful. If he wants a big performance today, we're going to see big numbers from Trey.
In a 5-event competition, you're not going to win the event, the whole thing, in the very first test, but you can put yourself in a big hole. Who has the most riding on this event early on?
I think someone like Luke Stoltman could be very, very important for Luke. We know how good his pressing is. He's got the log for max to come, and he'll be looking for maximum points in that. But he needs a good start. If he can start with a big squat, get himself into those top 4 positions, he's going to be a challenge for anyone this week.
What about you, Dr. Bill? Who do you think has the most riding on this?
Well, I think it's Tom, because Tom's got to prove himself in the top half of this and be able to continue to progress throughout the competition because the events favor him further on. So that static event strength is going to be very important to figure this out in the first half of this.
One more look at the schedule for today. 2 total events on tap for today. We'll have 3 tomorrow, and we're going to kick it off with the double T squat at 2:55 Eastern time, and then the monster dumbbell for reps will conclude the first day of competition, and then stay with us after that because at 6:45 we wrap it up with the Rogue Iron Game Show. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we will kick off the Arnold Strongman Classic, the 1-rep max back squat for the first time ever at this competition. Stay with us, everybody, on the Rogue Iron Game. 5 events over 2 days will determine the Arnold Strongman Classic champion, and for the first time ever, we have the 1 rep max back squat.
Licis has done it. He is your Rogue Invitational champion.
Welcome everybody to the capital of Ohio, and for the next few days it will serve as the capital of the strength world. It is day number 1 of the Arnold Strongman Classic from the great city of Columbus. We are live inside the Columbus Convention Center. I'm Sean Woodland alongside Lawrence Chalet. We are set for event number 1, and like we have mentioned, the 1 rep max back squat, making its first ever appearance here at the Arnold Strongman Classic.
Yes, the squat has not been used at the Arnold Classic ever before. It's rarely used in strongman anyway. We see it for reps sometimes in some contests. We'd have to go years back to have seen a squat for max. All the athletes are backstage. I've just been back there. They're very, very nervous, as you'd expect before the first event. But they all want to get off to a good start, and proving you have the strongest legs in the world is the best way to start that.
Let's take a look at the competitors list for this first of 5 events over the next 2 days. And for the first time in more than 10 years, we do not have a returning champion in the field. We will crown a brand new first-time champion of this event here on Saturday. The event description couldn't be simpler. We're going to throw some weight on the T-bar and we're going to squat it. We're going to see who has the highest 1 rep max. Each competitor will get 3 attempts, and it is a rising bar system, much like we would see in an elephant bar deadlift. Once you fail an attempt, you are out. And for more on the T-bar, here's Kiki Dixon. We'll get to Kiki here in a second. She's getting set up, but there is a look at the T-bar, and we talked about this during the pre-show. It's a little different when you're squatting with that as opposed to a straight bar.
Yeah, well, let's go through the squat, because it is slightly different than we might see in a powerlifting squat. Powerlifting bar would be a standard 7-foot bar, straight. They wouldn't have the stoppers at the bottom. You can see there in that graphic, there's the stoppers that the weights will have to touch. So the athletes will need to control that descent. If they whack into them hard, it could throw them off balance. So these are little elements that they've got to cope with. The bar itself is not too much of an issue. They should be able to cope very well with that. It's actually quite forgiving for these bigger guys. These big muscle-bound guys with huge shoulders, their mobility isn't always the best. So it's just a little more forgiving on the shoulders and elbows. The one thing it can do is rock a little, so they need to make sure they're really tight in that upper back, secure through the whole body. The core should be tight, and then it's all about leg strength, strong midsection, and a strong back.
Let's take a look at the list of competitors here. Again, this is a rising bar system. The athletes had to declare their opening weights last night, and then they will go in order of that. The bar, the weight on the bar will never decrease. Once again, this is the competitors list. We don't know the exact order in which they are going, but they did have to declare their weights last night, and then they will go in order of that. Once again, the weight on the bar can never decrease. Who do you like in this event?
We have some tremendous squatters. When I look at squat performances from the past, you're looking at Martins Licis. He won the squat at World's Strongest Man back in 2019 when he won the world title. JF Caron has performed exceptionally well in any static. You know, his deadlift strength we all know about, but he's an exceptional squatter as well. I've had the misfortune of competing against him in a squat. He is a tremendously strong athlete, and these are the type of events JF loves. But we have a whole host of great athletes out there, all improving fast. So until they're out there, we just don't know.
That looks to be Tom Stoltman making his way out to the competition floor as he will be up first. And we talked about this on the pre-show. A lot riding on this event for Tom. He has to do a little damage control here to keep himself in position to challenge for a spot on the podium.
Yeah, this is the one event that could really cost Tom. we heard Bill mention earlier, Dr. Bill was mentioning how dominant Tom was at Britain's Strongest Man last week. And I have to say, I don't think anyone in the world could have beaten Tom on those 5 events. The fact is, we're at a different competition with 5 completely different events, and they are not Tom's favorites, and this is probably the worst of the lot. So Tom on this, it's all about damage control. If he can come out of this 7th, 6th place, he's going to be very, very happy.
Last time that you and I got to watch Tom Stoltman compete, he finished 2nd to Martins Licis at the Rogue Invitational, and said after that competition that had he had a little more time to train, had he been a little more fresh, because I think he competed pretty close to the Rogue Invitational, maybe he would have wound up on top of the podium.
Yeah, Tom competed the week before, and he's done exactly the same here. It's just unfortunate how the calendar falls sometimes. Obviously, winning his national title is very important to him, so he's gone and defended that title. And like I said, he was extremely dominant. I don't think it's taken too much out of him. I think he's fresh, and he's ready to perform this week.
Stoltman will be the first man out to lift.
So what's happening here is, this is Dan, his coach there, is putting the knee wraps on. The knee wraps are going to give him a little bit of spring out of the bottom. That all the athletes should be wearing them. They should be trying to maximize every bit of kit they can to get as much weight on the bar. These are horrible. If you've never tried knee wraps before, when they're done properly, they're very restrictive around the legs. They can even leave bruises sometimes. I've wrapped people for the first time, and they really don't like me when I do it. But you can get anything from 20 to 50, 60, 70 pounds if you kind of learn how to use them. So it is important. These are big, tough guys that can cope with a little bit of pain.
And these wraps, because of the sizes of these individuals, are longer than you would see in some other meets, correct?
That's correct. Some powerlifting meets, they're only allowed to be 2 meters. The athletes are allowed 2.5 this week. They were going to stick with 2 meters, but they decided on the size of these guys will allow them to go for the longer knee wraps, which is a good call because they'd probably only get the 2 meter ones around a couple of times.
Yeah, I might need some tape for that. I'm good, I got it back.
So he's also getting into his super suit there. This is going to give a lot of support around the hips, especially as they kind of descend into that squat. Everything tightens up. The idea, it protects them and gives them a little bit of spring out of that bottom position.
Stoltman is just about ready, and the athletes were here last night setting the height on the squat rack for where they wanted to start, and also setting the pads for the depth of what they need to hit. They need to get 2 parallel for the squat to count.
That's correct. So once Tom's the tallest athlete we have as well, so squatting tends to suit athletes with shorter femurs, actually, the upper leg. If you're shorter in the upper leg, it tends to be a little more comfortable. Tom is obviously a very, very tall athlete. Not his favorite event. Let's see how he's looking. So Tom Stoltman, nice deep squat. Very, very easy for his opener. That'll give him some confidence.
That looks like a warm-up for Stoltman. We're waiting for the official weight that was on the bar. The first attempt is successful.
So one thing that I will question with Tom there, you may have just seen his leg buckled in slightly at the bottom there. That could have been from hitting the pads, but it's a weakness in terms of when we go to those top-end lifts. And this is something that's a little different when you go from squat for reps to a squat for max. Squat for reps, you can almost muscle the weight up and get away with a little bit of technical error. When we go to those 90, 95, 100% efforts, your technique needs to be spot on. So what I'm looking for on these warm-ups is seeing how people are moving. It was fairly comfortable for Tom there, but I want to see how some of the athletes perform next.
Stoltman's first lift, 751, and now his brother Luke is getting set to come out onto the competition floor. So first of 3 lifts, good for Tom Stoltman.
Dan Hipkiss, coach to Tom and Luke Stoltman. He's going to have a busy day. Putting those knee wraps on is actually very, very draining. He's going to probably be the most tired man in the room once this squat event is finished. As the athlete, all you have to do is sit there. It's easy. He does have the slight challenge of going under that bar, getting crushed by around 800 pounds. Have we heard his opening weight?
don't think we have his opening weight yet, but we do know that his brother Tom hit 751. So again, the weight cannot go down, so it's going to be more than that, or the same.
Luke is the current Europe's strongest man. And Luke has some massive, massive legs. When you look at athletes' builds to decide what type of events they should be good at, this is something that should suit the Highland Oak.
What was it like when the crowd went wild? When you were struggling with one of those big lifts, not when you ever struggled. It did help, man. It made me try harder. Including I tried hard all the time, man.
The raps continue to go on Luke Stoltman, as he will be the second of 10 men onto the floor. And like the deadlift, too, we could see guys lift multiple times before we see someone come out for his first attempt here.
Yeah, if you're a very confident athlete, warm-ups have gone well out the back, you may decide, you know, you don't want to come in until something really high. So maybe someone like JF Caron is going to open on something huge, and we could well have seen some of the athletes do all three lifts before we even see the Canadian.
So Luke will also be attempting 751 to match his younger brother.
$751, it's approximately 345 kilos. Both going for safe openers here, I feel. And that's important sometimes. They're both in their first Arnold Classic. You know, you haven't got under this piece of kit before. Getting used to the stage, getting used to the experience, the environment is always good. Sometimes people jump in far too heavy on their opener.
First attempt for Luke Stoltman. 751 is no problem.
Easy lift there. Looked a lot more stable at the bottom. Very good control on the way down. Nice easy lift for Luke Stoltman.
And it looks like Rob Kearney, well, he's in the background. I'm not sure if he'll be the next man out or not. Trey Mitchell is listed as the next man. So Kearney on the left side of your screen getting ready. Trey Mitchell also making his first Arnold Strongman Classic appearance. Won the Shaw Classic last year.
Yeah, really fantastic progress from Trey over the last couple of years. To win that title is really, really impressive. It's a tough competition to win. 8 events they do at the Shaw Classic.
Wow.
Already looking at what they should be doing next. The most important thing, beat your brother.
So far they're tied at 751. Steve Slater talking things over with Luke right there.
So we have 5 first-timers in this competition. Actually, yeah, 5 first-timers in Luke Stoltman, Tom Stoltman, Trey Mitchell, Maxime Boudreault, and Yevgeny.
There is Trey Mitchell getting set for his first attempt. Got into strongman when he realized he wasn't going to be playing American football in college and just started hitting the weights, and here he is at the Arnold Strongman Classic for the first time in his career. He was 4th at the World's Strongest Man last year in Sacramento, California. That's the best finish in his career at that event.
Trey's, particularly the last 2 years, just the progress that we've seen from him, it's been incredible. He's such a laid-back character as well. He's not big on social media. He's not kind of showing all his lifts, but he turns up to these shows and he proves he is one of the absolute best.
Same time, we want to see the big lifts happen. And this is the place.
The knee wraps are out. Trey's going to get set for his first attempt that we are being told is 771 pounds.
Martins! He's got the nice hair. He's got the nice hair.
See the order of the athletes on the left side of your screen. Up next will be Oleksii Novikov, and then Maxime Boudreault, and Yevgeny Markov.
This is my last chance to have long hair before the whole goes away.
You can see really how tightly they're cranking that
They are
thing
indeed.
down, and how difficult it can be to walk when you have that much pressure on that joint. I heard some of the athletes last night when they were getting set to set their heights on the bar and the depth, asking about how far they were going to have to walk from where they were sitting to the rack, because they didn't want to have to walk more than 20 feet to that thing.
When they put their wraps on, you'll see them try and keep their legs as straight as possible. They should be. I mean, Trey's bending his knees there. That's actually a mistake, because your legs are going to start kind of filling up with blood. He wants to keep those knees, or the legs extended, keep them as straight as possible. I'm going to question how knowledgeable his rapper is here at doing knee wraps. He's done one pulling the patella in towards his body, the other one is going out. Normally you want to make sure that each time you wrap, you go out, away from your body. And some of the guys were telling me Trey doesn't train in wraps, which could be a potential mistake. He's built very well to squat, has tremendous leg power.
Would there be any reason to wrap a knee going to the inside?
No, it would pull the patella in towards you, which puts you in a weaker position. You can look at him walking there, though. You can tell they're tight. He's kind of got the robotic walk going on.
Trey Mitchell, first attempt in his first ever appearance here at the Arnold Strongman Classic, 771 pounds on that T-bar.
So the one thing that's nice about that T-bar, because of the bend in there, it does give a little bit. It's not quite as stiff on the shoulders and the elbows. So unracks it nicely.
And that will count.
It's the lift. Good first lift there by Trey.
And that will bring up Oleksii Novikov.
And the Trey Mitchell fans are happy right over here. I would say in the Shaw Classic, it was awesome. Trey brought his dad out there.
Novikov, who finished third there with Jerry Pritchett.
Jerry Pritchett, a man that does have a lot of experience at the Arnold Classic. Had some big performances here.
And Novikov coming off that third place finish at the Rogue Invitational back in October, and we mentioned it during the Rogue Iron Game show. The performance that he had in that sear dumbbell ladder, clearing the entire thing and putting 300 pounds over his head with his right arm. For a lot of people who were there, that was the first time they'd ever seen a strongman competition. I think it was one of the most incredible things. I know it was one of the most incredible individual performances I've seen in this sport.
That dumbbell performance was just phenomenal. I mean, if you think that dumbbell weighs the same as I do. So he kind of threw me over his head in one arm and pressed me overhead. That, I mean, when you're going up against the absolute best in the world and you can beat them by so much, you just sit there in awe, and he hit it absolutely perfectly. He's going to be looking forward to the dumbbell tomorrow.
So 8:01 now on the bar for Oleksii Novikov. His best finish at this competition was 5th. That was in 2020.
And he's improved a lot in that time. A man that's very focused.
And what's amazing is
the crowd acknowledging Oleksii Novikov.
To see him getting a huge cheer. I want to see him perform today. He looks fired up.
He is ready for his first attempt. 801 pounds on the bar. Got to wrap his knees first. Jerry Pritchett there to help him out. Jerry Pritchett, a great guy to have in your corner. You mentioned it, a ton of experience here at this event.
Great experience. He's an extremely strong man. He's competed at the Arnold many, many times. One thing that's interesting as well when you watch knee wraps is everyone does them different. Sometimes people just kind of start at the bottom, work their way up, work their way back down. Other athletes will do a cross over the knee. It's interesting to see what they prefer. Often it's just going with what feels more comfortable for you.
So Pritchett doing the same thing that we saw with Trey Mitchell. The left wrap went to the inside. The right wrap is going to the outside.
Yeah, that is interesting. And the one thing, you know, Jerry's not wrapping him in training, so it's not something that he's familiar with. But they are tight, you can see that. And the tighter they are, the more spring they're going to get out of the bottom.
Here comes Oleksii Novikov for his first attempt.
801 pounds.
In order for the rep to count, the barbell has to make contact with those pads on either side of the rack. They set that height last night.
Yeah, the height is determined for each individual athlete, so it's altered depending on their height and how deep they squat. Easy lift there.
No problem for Oleksii Novikov. 4 men down, and all 4 of them hit their opening lifts with little trouble. And Maxime Boudreault will be up next.
Let's go on the bar for successful. Let's get started. Well, next up, and showing
I think I just heard that the next weight is 816 pounds for Maxime Boudreault.
Boudreault seems to be feeling good, was loose and warm up, but he's feeling healthy.
There is Maxime Boudreault. Along with his girlfriend, who will be in charge of, it's like applying those knee wraps. Maxime coming off a 3rd place finish at the World's Strongest Man in Sacramento, California. That was just a 2nd appearance here. This is an athlete who's really on the rise here.
He had a fantastic 2021, coming 3rd at World's Strongest Man. That establishes you as a top-level athlete. He won the Magnus Ver Magnuson Classic towards the end of last year, so he knows how to win.
You didn't do it indoors. No, in November.
He had a great event in that competition. He won the log lift medley and the deadlift, and he finished 2nd in all the other events except for the max stone press. He was pretty dominant over there in Iceland.
He really was, yeah.
Big part.
So this looks like they've practiced this before, using the wrap to help pull the knee wrap through. They're using the wrist strap there.
So we have on the bar now 800.
And you really want to make this wrapping as easy as possible. If the longer you're in those knee wraps, the worse it is. So being efficient and well rehearsed in how to put these on makes a big difference.
One of Maxime's heel has been the double. I don't know how he did it, but he won the double.
Maxime Boudreault, another athlete. You mentioned how many first-time competitors we have in this competition. This is his first appearance at the Arnold Strongman Classic. Look at those beautiful rogue plates. Maxime looks like he's about set to go after 816 pounds.
Looks like he's ready to go. Just waiting for his call up.
A lot of work they do. If they mess things up, they get yelled at.
He will make his approach to 816 pounds.
Who thinks he can do it? There you go.
It's a good back slap there.
First attempt for Boudreault.
So what he's trying to do is brace. It's really firm through the midsection. Good control on the way down, touches, and squeezes it back up.
816, no trouble for Maxime Boudreault, and we are now halfway through the competitors. Evgeny Markov is listed to be the next man up.
Markov has competed at the Amateur Arnolds a number of times, finally winning the title in 2020. He's done exceptionally well on the Pro Tour in 2021. First time in the Pro Show at the Arnolds. I'm quite excited to see how he can do this week. He's very, very good at the dumbbell. I've never seen him squat before, so I'm very interested to see how he performs on this event.
Well, Markov is going to have to wait because Tom Stoltman is now coming up for his second attempt.
Interesting.
He hit 751 to open.
So how did you do that, Magnus?
Now he's going for his second of 3 attempts here.
Yeah, I kept telling them jokes. Your jokes are that bad that they were sort of, you know, distracted. It was like, I was disrupting their concentration.
So 816 for Stoltman, the weight that Maxime Boudreault just successfully lifted. Stoltman coming into this competition on a bit of a tear. We saw what he did at the Rogue Invitational, finishing second there. Before that, world's strongest man. Great competition last week. Looking to continue that streak here at the Arnold Strongman Classic in his first appearance at this event.
We have so many talented young strongmen competing right now. Tom, incredible performance at World's Strongest Man. His last 2 performances at Britain's have been just dominant. It's the only really word I can use to describe it. I mean, last week, I think it was the most dominant performance I've ever seen at that contest. And I genuinely don't think anyone in the world could have beaten him. Still has a couple of weaknesses in the all-round game. But when the events are in his favor, he is one of the most dangerous men you will meet. The big change with Tom as well has been the mental approach. He really believes he's the best in the world now.
Well, you got a sense of that at the Rogue Invitational, how confident he was in his abilities, even when he finished second to Martins Licis, saying that he really thought that had he been in top shape, that he could have walked away with the top spot in that competition. But now he steps up to 816 pounds. This is his second attempt. He's already made 751 on his opening lift. And that will count. Stoltman 2 for 2, 816. So he ties Maxime Boudreault for the heaviest lift that we have seen thus far. 4 men have yet to make their first attempts.
Give you an interesting fact about Tom Stoltman. Back in 2015, he competed in the amateur contest, placing 20th. He's come a long way in that time.
And still relatively young when it comes to the sport of strongman. He's only 27 years old.
Yes. He's already achieved a huge amount, but he has a huge future ahead of him.
Luke Stoltman is going to come back up, and given what we see on the screen now with Evgeny Markov listed at 821, likely that Luke is also going to try 816, but we'll wait for the official word on that.
The second event today is going to be the circus dumbbell for reps. We saw this.
So 816 for Luke Stoltman on the bar to match his younger brother.
Rep that out. And just looking at the bar on it, it's about the size of a Coke can. I could budge it.
It's not like lifting a whole dumbbell, is it? Because when you have that handle,
It's been a real new approach from Luke over the last year or so. He's always been seen as the fun, jovial athlete, and people kind of fell in love with him because of that. But when he approached Europe's Strongest Man in 2021, he came in with a real serious attitude. He's kept it going since then. Sometimes miss the jovial Luke that we kind of fell in love with, but he wants to show he's one of the absolute best in the world. And sometimes you have to put the jokes aside.
He and his brother Tom are the only brothers in history to reach the finals of the World's Strongest Man.
I know their father, Ben, and how proud would you be as the dad of two of the absolute strongest men in the world. You've got Britain's strongest man, Europe's strongest man, and the world's strongest man, all in the same family. Very, very supportive of each other. And they've got another brother, Harry Stoltman, who is training hard now. Could have another future champion. Dan looks absolutely knackered already. He's going to be tired. I'm telling you, knee wrapping is a hard job.
Here comes Luke Stoltman for his second attempt at 8:16 to match his younger brother. He also opened with 7:51.
And on the ball right now at 8:16, his second lift, Luke Stoltman.
That is no problem for Luke Stoltman. 8:16 now. A three-way tie between the Stoltman brothers and Maxime Boudreault for the heaviest lift that we have seen so far, but still 4 men have yet to even put their first attempts up.
I have to say as well, Luke looked a lot more confident than Tom at the 8:16. Like you say, we still haven't seen some of our athletes yet.
Rob Kearney, who's in blue shorts, and there is Yevgeny Markov just passing in front of the camera, and he'll get ready. So he is listed to try 821 pounds. He'd be the heaviest lift that we've seen so far, just the first attempt for Markov, who is another athlete who is really on the ascent here.
Yeah, he's a 7-time champion, national champion. Came first at the Siberian Muscle Power Show last year, and as we mentioned earlier, the 2020 Amateur World Champion here at the Arnolds. That's how he qualified for this contest. Obviously, we missed out the 2021 show. But he's back. He's been training very, very hard. He's put some incredible numbers up on dumbbell pressing. I'm really excited to see how he can do on that, because if he can replicate what he's done in the gym, we may see someone push Novikov when it comes to that dumbbell. But we're starting with the squat.
Yeah, and winning the 2020 Arnold Amateur Strongman Championship, Markov won 2 events, the arm-over-arm pull and the super yoke.
I'm interested to see how this looks. He's a great athlete. Been very impressed with what I've seen of Markov over the last couple of years.
Starts in the heart of this strongman stuff. Okay, so our next athlete coming up, this is his first time at the Arnold Strongman Classic. 7-time Russia's strongest man out of Omsk, Russia. And this guy is a great competitor. A lot of people are expecting big things out of him.
Markov getting set for his first attempt. We've seen 2 athletes make 2 attempts so far. Both the Stoltmans have been up there twice. Bobby Thompson, Rob Kearney, Martins Licis, and JF Caron have yet to lift. Caron will be the last man to go, and he was the favorite to win this event coming into it.
Well, we've all been mentioning we're excited to see what people can lift on the squat, and I think there's genuinely a chance we might see 1,000 pounds today. The fact that we haven't seen 4 lifters come in yet is, you know, I'm thinking they must be feeling confident backstage. 1,000 pounds on your back as well, that would be incredibly impressive. The really special thing as well is strongmen don't focus just on one event. You know, there's so many events that you need to be good at with strongman. There's some incredible powerlifters out there, but they only focus on maybe a bench press or a squat or a deadlift, sometimes all three. Strongmen have to be good at so many different events. So to be able to squat 1,000 pounds and then go and deadlift 1,000 pounds and then put a, you know, a 450-pound log overhead and then run with weight and lift stones, for me, it's why strongman is so exciting. That versatility needed to be such a great athlete.
First attempt from Markov at 8:21.
He's got some big quads on him. Let's see if he puts them to use. Great depth there. Ooh, he's worked hard for that one. That's a big lift. Maybe a mistake coming in quite so heavy.
Markov at that sticking point that you see a lot of people kind of in any back squat. That's where you're going to hit it right there. Was able to fight through it, and the lift will count.
See, I got excited there because you don't expect to see that on your first lift. I think he's maybe coming a little too heavy there. Hopefully it was more getting used to the conditions and he's actually, you know, a little more comfortable on his second lift. But from watching that, it didn't look like there's a whole lot more.
Just the first attempt for Markov at 8:21, and was definitely not the easiest lift, but it will count. Right now he has the lead, and Trey Mitchell will step up for the second time. He hit 771 on his first of 3 attempts, so this will be his second go. So 8:26 for Trey Mitchell to pass Markov by 5 pounds.
And I think what you said earlier could well happen. I think we could see athletes do all 3 lifts before we see some guys even get started. And it's one of the, it does tend to slow down the pace of this event because on a squat it's very hard to make people just go back to back straight out there. So they have to give the athletes a few minutes between these lifts. 826 pounds is a tremendous weight on your back. You don't want to be just jumping straight in after already lifting a huge weight.
And it looks like all the competitors are out on the floor. They're not back warming up. So if you're one of those athletes who has yet to lift, how are you staying warm right now when it's going to be a few minutes before, tens of minutes before you even get out there?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they do have the warm-up bar in the out the back, and I mean, I can see most guys out there, but there is a possibility that they are staying back and warming up. They're also trying to pick up tips. Because this is a new bar, the more experienced athletes will be looking at what people are doing, trying to pick up little tips, figuring out the best way to hold that bar, make sure it's secure on their back.
Rob Kearney on the right side of your screen, who has yet to make his first attempt. And Luke Stoltman on the left. He's been through 2 lifts so far, 1 lift remaining for him. His top score, 816 pounds.
Rob Kearney did 960 pounds in training.
Trey Mitchell getting set again. Thompson, Kearney, Licis, and Caron still have yet to make their first attempt. Mitchell will be the 3rd man to make his second. 8:26 on the bar for him.
You guys want to see that? You guys want to see somebody squat over 1,000 pounds? Well, right now, at 8:26, his second lift.
Here comes Trey Mitchell, making his first appearance at the Arnold Strongman Classic, second attempt. 8:26.
Gets himself under the bar. They're using a monolift here, so as they stand, the rack actually can be pulled out of the way, so the athletes don't need to step back.
And that is good for Trey Mitchell. 5 pounds better than the lift we saw from Evgeny Markov, and Mitchell is your new leader.
Mitchell goes into the lead there. 826 pounds, or 28 was it?
826.
826. I have to say, I thought Markov's was deeper. This is one of the factors that causes us not to use the squat as much as, say, a deadlift. Deadlift is so much easier and quicker to get through. The athletes get out there, they lift from the floor, they stand up with it, they put it down. Having more equipment, there's always more things that can change.
Bobby Thompson will be up next, making his first attempt at 831 pounds. He was 9th at the 2021 World's Strongest Man competition last year. He was the man that was added to the roster after Mateusz Kieliszkowski had to withdraw due to injury.
Yeah, devastating to have to lose Kieliszkowski, but what a man to replace him. Bobby Thompson has put one of the biggest logs up over the last few years. He's a monster when it comes to squats. His dumbbell pressing is good. He is a man more than capable of competing and challenging for this title.
So as soon as you do a little mistake or fail or not placing too high.
Thompson making his second appearance at the Arnold Strongman Classic. He was 9th in 2020, but in that event, he actually set a PR in the elephant bar deadlift. He lifted 930 pounds, 420 kilos. After Thompson, we will only have 3 athletes remaining to make their first of 3 attempts.
I'm interested to see what Caron decides to open on.
I mean, it's getting scary right now. We're already well into the 800s.
I mean, if we go back to the Rogue Invitational, he absolutely dominated the deadlift. And I remember speaking to him afterwards saying, it was easy.
And I think he finished at around 963 pounds, and that looked simple for him. It looked like, and I think it was only his second attempt. He won that without making all 3 lifts.
I'm sure he'd like to do that today. I think it'll be a little tougher. Licis is an incredible competitor and squatter. Rob Kearney has put some ridiculous numbers up in the gym.
We talked earlier about the pressure on some of these athletes in this event. You're not going to win the whole thing here in the opening event, but you can put yourself in a hole. And in that battle that we expect to see develop between Tom Stoltman and Martins Licis, Tom Stoltman is looking like he's going to have some ground that he's going to have to make up heading into the rest of the events, because he's already made, as Tom Stoltman, 2 attempts at 816 pounds is his heaviest lift so far.
If Tom really wants to challenge for this title, he can't be any more than 4 places behind Licis. If Licis is 4 places ahead of him, he's going to be on a tremendous uphill battle.
Markov in 2020, the last 3 Arnold Amateur winners, all here in the Arnold Strongman. They have gotten big and strong. This man only found out he was competing here on Monday. Another athlete was injured, had to step away. This guy filled in, and he is ready to make the most of it.
Too bad, but we got to pull out. It's better to pull out than risking even more.
Bobby Thompson is just about ready, just really cranking down that final knee wrap. And he will make his walk to the rack for his first attempt at 831.
With 831 pounds on the bar, and here with us is Bobby Thompson.
So his coach there just making sure he's spot on in terms of positioning. He'll contract the upper back, be bracing hard into that belt. Stands up. Let's see how his first lift looks. Pauses
no problem.
That was a powerful lift there. That's what you call a paused squat, which is actually harder than just going down and coming straight back up. Just confirming that it's a good lift. It looked very good to me. He's happy. Excellent first lift for the American Nightmare.
831 for Bobby Thompson. You mentioned getting that spring out of the bottom, and when you pause like that, like you said, it takes a lot of that momentum away, which makes that lift, I think, even more impressive.
Yeah, that really was tremendous. That's how you want to see a first lift. You know, you want to build that confidence. If you go in and you are struggling and you're fighting for that first one, firstly, it's very draining on your body. You want that to be your third lift. You know, that third lift is when you want to be giving 100%. First lift is about making it move quickly, getting used to the environment, and building on that confidence that you need to lift the bigger weights to come.
Rob Kearney's going to be next, we think.
He looks confident.
8:56 is what we are told he's going to be attempting here, unless another man is going to make a second or possibly third attempt before he gets out there, because he doesn't look like it does Rob Kearney. He's in any hurry to get to that chair where he's going to get all of his gear on.
8:56 is nearly 100 pounds less than he's done in the gym, so he'll be confident of that type of weight. And Rob has got to be the lightest athlete in the contest.
It's right around 300 pounds.
Which is never light in most sports, but in strongman, it actually is
Yes,
considered
it is.
on the lighter side. Strongmen throw around 300 something pounds, like most people throw around 100 or 200 something pounds.
Finished 7th the 2020 Arnold Strongman Classic, did Rob Kearney.
I'm excited to see 1,000 pounds today. Are you?
And he is going to make his first attempt.
Well, next up, 856 pounds on this bar.
Listed at 285.
The rainbow.
And that really is light for a pro strongman. You know, when you look at the likes of Hafthor Bjornsson, who was up at 450 pounds. Eddie Hall was up over the 400 pounds. Zydrunas, they were all monsters. The average strongman is somewhere around the kind of 330 to 350 mark. 285 is on the lighter side.
I did some seminal lifts. But I realized.
Rob has been an incredible underdog his whole career. Former American log lift record holder. Deadlifted close to 1,000 pounds. Can he squat close to 1,000 pounds?
I think I should get one of those.
Now you start to wonder about opening lifts for Licis and Caron, because given what we've seen some of the other athletes do on their second attempts, I wonder if we're going to see some third attempts before we even get to those final two men.
Well, when I look at how I think people can do, I have to go on previous performances on events. And the two guys that you look at that have backed it up time and time again are JF Caron and Martins Licis. They are both exceptional when it comes to the squat. They've proven it on multiple occasions. And they did some training earlier. They were both training together for this contest, doing some squatting. It was good to see.
Left knee is ready to go.
Now the first lift. The weight is starting to go up considerably here, Magnus.
So this is interesting. We're at 856 pounds, I believe.
Yes.
I'm going to be surprised with what Markov's coming in at next then, because his first lift looked the limit to me. And now, if he's going above this, it's a big jump.
Who are you pulling for? From Scotland, he's the albatross. Stoltman. All right, sit down. You're trying to steal my job. You got some
A new presenter back there.
The albatross. I like it. Easy to cheer for Stoltman.
That is Hafthor Bjornsson, who looks svelte.
Yes, I mentioned he was over like 450 pounds at one stage. He's definitely not up at that. He's more like the 300 pound right now, maybe even lighter. Former three-time winner of the Arnold Classic, former world's strongest man, one of the best strongmen we've ever seen.
He was absolutely dominant here in some of the events that we saw over the past couple of years. If you follow him on social media, he is shredded right now. He looks great.
Yeah, he's training completely different right now. There's a big fight coming up. in a couple of weeks, but it's great to see him back here at the sport that made him.
Right now, Rob Kearney's going to get himself into a fight with an 856-pound barbell. His first attempt here.
So Rob Kearney, 856 pounds. Up he goes. Spreading the floor nicely, knees put at the side. Oh, double bounce there.
Good lift for Rob Kearney, who
lift,
was really methodical on the way down and gets it to count.
It's very controlled all the way through. Interesting to see at the bottom how he sort of like bounced a little. But a very solid lift.
Two men have yet to make their opening attempts, Martins Licis and J.F. Caron.
The longer they leave it, the more chance we will have of that 1,000 pounds. They're only going to go there if they need to. That's the simple fact in these huge competitions.
So far, 3 men have made 2 attempts. That's Luke and Tom Stoltman, along with Trey Mitchell. Novikov, Boudreault, Markov, Thompson, and Kearney have all made their first attempts. Trey Mitchell is going to come back onto the floor for the 3rd and final time. And he'll make a run at 8:56 to tie Kearney.
I would kill to have 1/10 the confidence Magnuson has. Are you serious? You're a legend, buddy. I remember watching you in college. We always used to joke, what does your name mean? We always thought it was Big Von Big. Like just giant. Magnus for Magnuson. What does it mean if you translate it? What does it mean? Does it mean like huge? It sounds like it's a very sizable name, Magnus.
Trey Mitchell opened at 771. His second attempt was good at 826. Now trying to best that by 30 pounds. His 3rd and final attempt.
The great man, son of the great. That's pretty good.
Which means, as cool as Magnus is, could you imagine how studly his dad is? The great one who gave birth to this?
So this is where some tactics will come into play as well. Guys will be looking at numbers and thinking about picking up points. Do you go all out and risk doing a weight that you can't lift, or do you go a bit safer, hoping that someone else makes a mistake and doesn't lift as much as they'll try?
Starting in strongman powerlifting, I was known as the silent assassin. Well, that's what I got told.
But had they met you, anything but silent.
I didn't stay 2 months.
I have to say, I was expecting bigger numbers from Trey, but I did speak to him very briefly, and he said he has suffered with a few injuries leading up to this contest. And obviously that's going to knock your confidence. You don't want to be picking up injuries before coming and lifting as much weight as possible.
3rd and final attempt now for Trey Mitchell at 8:56 to tie Rob Kearney
Well, ladies and gentlemen,
for the heaviest lift we've seen so far.
These guys do big lifts, including a guy who's a 3-time Arnold Strongman champion. You can see him over here. He's filming right now. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Hafthor Bjornsson!
Mitchell is set, 8:56 on the bar. 3rd and final lift. The man known as Big Tex.
Come on, Trey, let's get this 3rd lift. Oh, he's not happy. Just needs to make sure everything is right. So if this was me now, I'd put that bar back and just compose myself.
And no problem for Mitchell. 8:56 is good.
There we go. That's more like it. Good solid lift. He looked like he had more there, but as I mentioned beforehand, maybe he's using tactics, hoping that some other people will push a little too hard now and fail on their 3rd lift.
Well, one guy you got to wonder about, and you've mentioned this before, is Markov, who's sitting there at 821, and that was not an easy lift for him.
No, not at all. And, you know, it could potentially be that he just misgrooved a little, and he might come and blast this second lift. But to me, it looked like it was heavy. He had to really fight for it. And that does two things. One, it knocks your confidence. Two, it takes more energy out of you.
So Maxime Boudreault is going to come out for his second attempt, and he's going to throw 5 more pounds on the bar, so 861 to take the lead on his second attempt for Boudreault, as Licis and Caron continue to wait.
And how long do they wait for?
Will you look at it, ladies and gentlemen, a legend in strongman.
It's great to see so many past competitors here today supporting these athletes.
Hafthor is here. We saw Jerry Pritchett earlier. He's working with Oleksii Novikov.
There's a guy called Brad Gillingham here who I remember when I was starting off, you know, and it's just great how the strongman community is so supportive of each other.
His second lift, they got 861 pounds on the bar.
Well, he's yelling there, getting him psyched up. I don't know if he's yelling just to get psyched up or he's yelling up and go for it. But I don't know. Whatever goes.
Maxime just trying to stay as relaxed as possible right now. I mentioned already about the knee wraps. It's an uncomfortable experience to go through, but as an athlete, you've got to stay calm in this situation, because if you fire yourself up too quickly, you burn out too much energy. So you don't want to switch it on until you get under that bar. Then it's time to unleash.
He almost qualified for the Arnold Strongman Classic back in 2020. He was third at the Arnold Strongman USA in Santa Monica that year. It took place in January, right before everything started to shut down because of the pandemic, and he was so close to making it. He wants to make the most of this opportunity here, now that he is in Columbus, Ohio at the Arnold Strongman Classic. 861 now.
There you go.
For Maxime Boudreault.
Suddenly just unleash the beast. Takes a sniff of ammonium. Clears the head, gets you focused. This is a big lift now. Maxime choosing to walk back with the weight. Oh, he's working hard. And he
has it. 861 to take the lead on his second attempt for Maxime Boudreault.
That was a big second lift there for Maxime. Had to fight hard, but it's a good lift. You see those knees start buckling in. It always worries me when I see that. There's a high chance of injury when we see that happening. But a good solid lift, and he's got a big smile on his face now.
And that will bring up Tom Stoltman, who will be making his third attempt, and he will try to tie Boudreault at 861.
This is a big jump up for Tom.
The last successful lift for Tom Stoltman was 816.
This would be huge if Tom can get this. If Tom can get this lift, he's still in this competition. This is a very, very important lift for the big Scotsman.
He's actually making it harder for himself. This is what he's used to.
The squat is the one lift where the athletes will probably wear more supportive gear than anything else, because it's such a brutal lift. It's demanding on the knees, on the hips, on the back. Every single joint feels it. And you'll see, I mean, Tom there, he's got his neoprene shorts on. He's got the knee wraps on. He's got the super suit on. He's got the soft belt. He's got the leather belt. Everything to keep his body in one piece. And the squat is such a dangerous event that with 4 very, very tough events still to come, you do need to make sure you get through it in one piece.
Brother Luke looking on. Luke has made 2 attempts. And so far, he's been in lockstep with his brother. They both opened at 751, and then they both hit 816 on their second attempt. So you got to think that Luke may be the next man out after Tom makes his go at 861 pounds. Tom Stoltman is set as he applies the very last piece of equipment.
On the bar, 6'8", 360 pounds out of Edinburgh, Gordon, Scotland.
This for me, Sean, is a very, very important lift. If he can lift this, it shows how much he wants to be here and how much he wants to win. This is way beyond anything we've seen Tom Stoltman do in the squat before.
861.
And he's going up. Yes, come on, Tom. He gets the lift. This is big for Tom Stoltman.
861 is good for Tom Stoltman, looking to do some damage control here, and that will certainly help him stay close to the men we expect to be winning this event, and that is either Martins Licis or JF Caron, who have yet to even lift yet.
Now that's a scary thought, but Tom will be very pleased with that lift. Pretty sure it's a PB in terms of weight. He actually looked just as comfortable there, I thought, as he did with the weight before.
Well, he's currently ahead of Trey Mitchell, but the other 8 athletes still have lifts.
Evgeny Markov coming up for his second attempt. So Markov hit 821 on his opening attempt. He's going to jump all the way up to 866. So a 45-pound jump from Markov, who struggled on his opening attempt.
Only logical reason I can see behind this is that he just misgrooved that first rep. If it just comes down to a strength issue, then honestly, I can't see this lift going up. £866.
This would take the lead for Markov, and he would have one lift remaining for Maxime Boudreault and Tom Stoltman, with the top lifts that we have seen, both of them making 861 pounds. Eight men still lifting here. We've had 2 men make all 3 attempts. That's Tom Stoltman, who we just saw. Trey Mitchell has also made all 3 of his attempts. And Markov is getting set for his second attempt.
No, he hasn't. Novikov started out, you can see an 801.
Interesting, this is the first time we haven't seen Luke follow his brother with the same weight. So he's obviously feeling confident after that second lift, going to go bigger for the third.
He's going to be doing a little strategy here, looking at these athletes, because a lot of strong athletes still with lifts left to go.
Oleksii Novikov is one of the
We still have yet to see Licis
5 men who have yet to make a second attempt. We have 2 men who have yet to even make a first attempt. Novikov with his opening lift at 801 pounds.
Is he getting strapped in with 866 pounds on the bar? Out of Omsk, Russia, the man known as the Siberian Bear.
Evgeny Markov, second lift of the competition.
866 to take the lead from Markov. And we'll see if this lift goes any smoother than his last one.
He looks like he's really getting himself fired up for this lift. He needs to. He needs to put everything into it.
866 from Markov here.
Sending nicely. Now he needs to drive hard.
Markov is stuck at the bottom, and he will bail on that lift. So
first failed lift we've seen of the evening.
Markov, who struggled at 8:21, and that was definitely a sign of things to come here as he made a big jump up to 8:66.
It was a huge jump, and as I said after his first lift, it just didn't look comfortable. That first lift, you want to make sure it's moving nicely. Get yourself on the board. Allow that confidence to grow. That was a big jump up, and in the end, just too much.
And you can see using that hydraulic lift, because nobody's going in there lifting up 866.
Now they got to get that barbell reset. And we'll see who comes out next. You mentioned Luke Stoltman the first time we didn't see him follow his brother. Perhaps he could be the next guy out. It would be his third attempt. It's really great to see fans back in attendance here at the Arnold Strongman Classic, because, and you know this, when you have people cheering you on, I mean, that can push you to some things that maybe were not possible if you did not have that crowd energy in front of you.
It makes such a big difference to the athletes. You know, training on your own in the gym is one thing. Competing in front of a huge crowd cheering you on, you just manage to dig that little bit deeper. I always liked it. The bigger the crowd, the better. Because you feel that pressure. You're like, I can't fail in front of these people. When you're on your own and no one's watching, it doesn't mean as much.
Oleksii Novikov is going to be the next man out. He will make his second of 3 lifts, moving up to 886 pounds.
Oleksii's still such a young man and such a well-rounded athlete. Already won a number of major titles.
Jerry Pritchett there, wrapping his knees. Novikov has a master's degree in international economics.
He's a smart boy.
Brains and brawn. Making his third appearance here at the Arnold Strongman Classic. Best finish was 5th in 2020.
Feel a solid performance on this squat, and he can definitely better that this week.
Hey. So that means we are now at the halfway point. We have 30 athletes, 10 athletes doing 3 lifts. It's going to be 30 total lifts. We've just seen 15.
Crew here reloading the bar for Novikov. As he's going to make a 20-pound jump from the last lift that we saw. We saw Yevgeny Markov fail at 866. His event is now done. Markov's top lift will be 821. Here comes Oleksii Novikov. Getting some last bit of advice from Jerry Pritchett. Now Novikov is set. 886.
Come on then, Novikov. 26 years old, could become the youngest ever winner of the Arnolds if he was to win this competition.
And he makes that look simple. So 886 for Novikov, and he still has 1 lift remaining.
He's got more in the tank, responding to the reaction from the crowd.
Maxime Boudreault will be up next. And he is going to try and tie Novikov. This will be Boudreaux's final lift at 886. He's been successful at 816 and then 861 as Oleksii Novikov gets out of all that equipment that he had to put on. Now it will be Boudreaux's turn to don the knee wraps.
His grandfather was making all
So correct me if I'm wrong, but Kearney and Thompson have both just had one lift each.
So he's, at young age, he started training with these things. And he became the best in Ukraine.
And we're still yet to see
And he gained the best in
Martins
the world.
Licis, 2019 World's Strongest Man, 2021 Rogue Invitational Champion, and JF Caron, multiple-time Canada's Strongest Man, incredible deadlifter, and he's here to prove he's an incredible squatter as well.
Well, I was 28. Well, that was my first entry as well.
We could have a pretty good back and forth between Licis and Caron developing here. As you said, Laz, it's...
I think if Caron won, people would go mental. Everyone loves him. He's very quiet and humble, but he's such a well-respected strength athlete, done so well for so many years, just never quite managed to win one of those major titles. But he's always there or thereabouts. My mum actually said that Caron's going to win this weekend, so...
All right.
It's going to happen. I was told even when she's wrong, you've got to agree with her, so...
Can't disagree with Mom.
Thompson sitting there with his headphones on. Like I said, he's in his own world.
Boudreault will be the third man here to make his third and final attempt. Tom Stoltman and Trey Mitchell, the other two.
The trick is, yes, you're going to be focused. But
Here comes Maxime Boudreault, third and final lift for him. 886 pounds on the barbell, and this would tie Oleksii Novikov for the lead right now.
Big lift, this one.
if the cap spits on, spits off.
Maxime has some very good events to come.
This to tie for the lead, 886. Boudreault just can't get out of the hole.
Just got to that sticking point, couldn't quite drive through. Hopefully he's okay. I think he's okay.
Boudreault will settle for a top score of 861. That leaves Oleksii Novikov by himself in the lead. Just could not get out of the bottom of that squat. And Martins Licis is up, and he will be making his first attempt at 9:01.
Opening on 9:01. That's 410 kilos.
Still haven't seen Licis or Caron make their first steps.
This is a world-class squat, and he's opening on it.
I hope they're staying warm with all the weights.
We talked about this earlier with Martins Licis as the crew gets the bar reset after Boudreaux's failed attempt, but he's so consistent throughout these events.
That's a good point, Magnus. It's been over.
Even if he's not winning, he's finishing top 4, top 3. And when you have an athlete who's that consistent, it's so hard to catch him if you have to make up a sizable deficit.
It's absolutely true, and it's one of the reasons he's been so successful. When you're that well-rounded, it actually takes a little bit of pressure off your really good events. If you come into a contest and you feel you've got to win an event, sometimes it's easy to make a mistake. Whereas Martins can come in, he knows top 3, top 3, top 3, keep performing and getting those top 3 positions, top 4 positions. As long as he's not placing down in 7th, 8th, 9th on any event, the whole standard is so high from every single competitor that when you don't drop points, you make yourself a real contender at winning these major shows.
And that was his recipe for success at the Rogue Invitational. He didn't win an event until the final one, and that is what won the entire competition for him.
He's getting locked in.
He's someone that seems to get better as well. He just kind of steady, okay, time to switch it on. And under pressure, he performs.
Some doubters in the crowd, Magnus. They're doubting him. I don't know. Never count the dragon out.
The other great thing about Licis is, if people follow him, you may follow his training and kind of think, he's all right. Then he turns up at a comp and he looks like he's inflated. And suddenly he's putting on these ridiculous performances. He just knows how to train and peak for these big shows. He doesn't do too many competitions. He makes sure he looks after his body as best he can. And he's making sure when it comes to the big shows, he's in shape.
Licis has been in the top 3 the last 2 times he's been at the Arnold Strongman Classic. He was 2nd in 2019 and then 3rd in 2020.
This is the one show he wants to win. He's won World's Strongest Man. He's won the Rogue Invitational. He's won multiple other big strongman competitions. He's publicly said this is the one show. He's not been able to get it yet. I think this is his year to really try and take that title. We've bigged him up. Let's see how he can squat.
Looks like he's getting ready for his first attempt.
First attempt for the Dragon, 901 on the barbell. This will be the top lift that we have seen so far.
Pounds on the bar for this fellow, the Dragon. Let him hear it.
Martins generally has very nice technique on the squat.
And Licis is good at 901. And the first shot in the battle between him and Caron has been fired.
He's already put himself into first place on the squat.
Wow.
Opening on 901.
No steps. As soon as it either down and up.
That really is a huge weight to open on.
So Bobby Thompson is going to be up next. Thompson made his first attempt at 831, and now he is going to make a 70-pound jump and try to match Licis at 901.
Bobby Thompson's got another one. Rob Kearney's got another one. Both those guys, epic squatters.
Still no JF Caron.
Still no JF Caron. I'm interested to see what Luke Stoltman's plans are. I think he's still only done 2 lifts. Be interested to find out if he's going for a third or if he's deciding to skip.
He told me he's dragging it. I can't wait to see him on the show.
Let's take one more look at Martins Licis at his first attempt
It's going to be the American Nightmare.
at 901.
Good knee positioning. Ever so slightly shifting to the right knee, but very solid. He's a tremendous lifter, tremendous competitor. One of those guys that just brings it on the day. He's maybe not putting the biggest numbers up when it comes to gym lifts, but he knows how to bring it when it's competition day.
Bobby Thompson getting set for his second attempt. Trying to match Martins at 901. We actually just saw JF Caron walk by our position here, which is to the left of the stage, so he's in no hurry.
He has to be feeling confident to be going in so heavy.
And like we mentioned at the Rogue Invitational, JF Caron won the elephant bar deadlift, and he only made 2 attempts. Could be the same story here in the back squat.
Let's see if he can do it. I think he can do it. He's confident that he can do it. This second can have one more, and that's what he's going to do in that third leg.
How high will these guys be willing to go?
Out of Virginia.
901 for Bobby Thompson. Second attempt for him.
Come on then, Bobby. Those big, strong legs to use. Driving up.
No problem for Thompson.
Good, solid lift. There was an interesting lift. He looked very solid and confident from the bottom. He actually looked to slow down a little, as it is for most people where it gets the easier part of the lift. So he looked very strong out of the hole, off those pads. Sometimes you can just get a little dizzy. The pressure builds up when you've got that much weight crushing down on you.
Luke Stoltman is going to be next. This will be his third and final lift, and he's going to add 5 pounds to the barbell and go for 906.
Bobby is so compact. I've seen him do some great feats of strength. And he's got
JF Caron walking by us again, making his way back to the competition floor.
It's so impressive. Again, as of last
Maybe he's nervous.
didn't know you were going to be in this competition. Found out, got ready, flew out, and he's here going against these guys.
So this is a big jump as well for Luke.
His last successful lift was 816.
You know, he knew that it was a possibility that he might have to step in.
90-pound increase.
I'm guessing he wasn't ready for it.
And he will be the 4th man to make his 3rd and final attempt. His brother Luke, Trey Mitchell, and Maxime Boudreault have all lifted 3 times as well.
You see that weights up to 906, Magnus.
So Luke Stoltman, his first Arnold Classic appearance. 2021 Europe's strongest man. This is a big increase.
Then he's hoping they won't get any more.
906 pounds.
So you got to take chances.
He's going to be a hell of a finish in this.
Tough shooting around those screens.
For me, this is a go for broke. He's trying to take a risk. If it pays off, he could put himself in a very good position. If it doesn't pay off, could end up being right down the list.
I think right now he's trying to figure out what will that final weight be for him.
There is JF Caron, who has yet to make his first attempt.
Martins.
Luke Stoltman just about ready for his 3rd and final attempt, making that 90-pound jump from his last lift.
We'll see what Luke can do now at 906.
Oh, there he is.
Luke Stoltman's ready.
Highland Oak needs to get this one.
His final lift.
Right now, his brother Tom sits in 4th.
Who's
This
taking
could
on for Luke here?
knock Tom down the overall standings in this event. You can bet that Tom's going to be paying close attention to this.
He needs this to stay in the competition. That's his little brother.
Luke looking deadly serious here.
3rd and final lift for Luke Stoltman, 906 pounds, to take the lead.
Rock solid, stood up. How's this?
Wow. Oh, and thought he was going to get out of that sticking point, but just ran into a wall there.
That was so interesting because he kind of came to that dead stop, and I thought it was done then. Suddenly he starts driving up, and I thought, oh, he's going to get it. But hit another sticking point, couldn't quite drive past high enough. That is bad news for the Highland Oak.
Luke Stoltman will end up with a score of 816.
It's good news for his brother Tom.
Oleksii Novikov is going to come out for his 3rd and final attempt, 911 pounds for him.
And still no JF Caron.
So he actually made it harder for himself. I think if he would have done it right, he would have got it.
Now, so is some of that just feeling the pads,
Novikov opened at 801, then made a huge jump to 886, and now he will move up to 911 pounds, looking to put himself in the lead here. You see JF Caron on the left side of your screen. Has yet to lift.
Caron has yet to make his first lift. And it looks like we'll have to wait a little bit longer because we're going to 911 pounds.
These guys are just, jumping a couple of pounds. It's a cat and mouse game. Like I said, every point.
Novikov will be the 5th man to make his 3rd attempt. You mentioned Novikov has already made 2 successful lifts. This is his 2nd lift at 886.
And this will be a big lift. If he gets this, he's going to be really pleased today.
And Oleksii has actually made a choice to decrease the lift that he was going to make, so he's going to also go for 906. Just saw Luke Stoltman fail at that weight. Resetting the pads for Novikov. Remember, they set this height for not only the rack, but also the pads last night. They had the athletes get into the rack, just test where they wanted to be, and then made sure that they got to parallel on the lift and set the height of those pads. That weight needs to touch the pads before they can get out of the bottom of the squat. Jerry Pritchett once again helping out Oleksii.
The pads are an interesting factor because when you're used to just squatting to your normal natural depth, you're not used to anything restricting you. Sometimes when you hit those pads, it can throw you off a little. It's important that you just touch them gently. What you don't want to do is kind of crash down. It's even worse if one end hits one hard and sends you over. You see sometimes their knees kind of buckle a little. That can be from the sensation of hitting the pad and pushing them to one side.
When JF Caron does make his first attempt, we're being told it will be 916 pounds.
I'm very interested to see how JF Caron's first lift moves.
And there is JF, winner of Canada's Strongest Man for 9 straight years.
He's really dominated the Canadian scene.
First, here's Oleksii Novikov, 906 pounds to take the lead, 3rd and final attempt for him.
Novikov going for a grippy top there. That just helps a little, keeping the bar stuck to his back. Let's see how badly he wants this.
906 for Novikov.
Yes, come on.
And he has it.
Gets it. Does he get the lift? Still a good lift.
And that is big for Oleksii.
That's huge. I wanted to hear that confirmation from the referee because I unfortunately didn't get into the athletes meeting last night, but he gets the good lift from the head judge. And that's a big lift for Novikov. Puts himself into first place currently on the squat.
3 attempts done for Oleksii Novikov, and he is our current leader at 906. We have 4 men remaining here.
Really sad about my country, and I'm very worried about this. It's big problem and big disaster in the world. and I'm really nervous about this.
Well, you did good.
Yeah.
The replay of Oleksii Novikov now as he takes the lead at 9:06.
It's great to see him here and doing what he does best. This is what we want to see from Oleksii Novikov. Fighting hard. The squat isn't his favorite event. Look at that, it got really tricky in that middle phase of the squat, but he worked hard, kept driving, and then gets the good lift signal from the referee.
Great first event for Oleksii Novikov. As he's set himself up for at least a finish inside the top 5. So JF Caron looks like he's going to be going for his first attempt at 916 pounds. So we are more than an hour into this event, and now here comes Caron.
I hope he's been keeping warm. It's a long time to wait for your first lift.
Caron, 39 years old. And as you said, Laz, dominated the Canadian strongman scene for quite a while. Back in 2016, he was here at the Rogue Record Breakers event at the Arnold Strongman Classic, and he flipped a 1,400-pound tire 4 times to set a new world record in that event.
JF has done some incredible things over the years. He's just faltered at the very last hurdle. Normally, he could have won a few major titles. The Shore Classic last year, he was so close to winning. It came down to the Atlas Stones. He just had a little fumble on one of them. He's always there or thereabouts. One of the most consistent performers we've seen over the last 10 years. Has so much respect from all the athletes. And he's a very easy athlete to work with as well. He's not someone that worries about diameters and heights and, you know, all these little things that some people can worry about. His attitude is be strong, turn up and give it your all. 916 pounds as an opener.
Rob Kearney is on the right side of your screen as JF continues to get ready for his opening lift. Kearney has made 1 lift so far at 8:56, and we're hearing that his second attempt right now will be 9:36.
Wow.
First, we have to watch the opening lift for JF Caron, and like you said, Laz, this first lift is going to tell you a lot about how this event is going to go for JF Caron.
Yeah, he knows he needs big points on this event. He's trying to come in with his opening lift, securing big points, and then he'll want to put himself into a battle. I think potentially he wants to try and win the squat on his second lift, coming in this heavy. Now, does he do what he did at the Rogue Invitational and just blow everyone out of the water on this first lift? If this first lift moves like a warm-up, they know they're in trouble. And it sends a message to almost stop people trying to push too hard. He'll want to make this look as fast and as easy as possible.
Caron is set. First time we've seen him in this event, 916 pounds on the bar.
JF getting himself fired up. Let's see how this looks. Huge, powerful quads. We know how strong his back is. Strong through the core.
And everyone else is in trouble. My goodness!
Just the raw power there was incredible.
If you blinked, you missed that lift.
He is here. He's prepared to lift whatever it takes on the squat. Absolutely incredible first lift there from JF Caron.
9:16, like it was nothing.
Look at this. Fast down, little shift to the right-hand side, but it was still so easy. He has plenty more left to come today. And that really must make the other athletes think we're fighting for second place here.
Martins Licis threw the first punch at 9:01, and JF Caron came back with a haymaker at 9:16.
He's just looking at the numbers for his next lift. If he's prepared for 1,000 pounds, it does make sense to come in where he did. He'll probably be looking around the 950 mark on his second lift.
JF Caron, now your leader in this event. Looks like Rob Kearney is going to try to reclaim that from Caron. Kearney getting set. He's only made one lift so far. That was 856 that he hit on his opener.
Making sure those knee wraps on are as tight as possible. Been very impressed with Rob Kearney squatting today and leading up to this show.
Let's take one more look back at Rob Kearney's opening lift at 856.
Very interesting little double dip at the bottom there. Didn't expect to see that, but he was still extremely comfortable. And this is a big jump.
Kearney trying to jump ahead of Caron by 20 pounds. We still have 4 men who have not made all their attempts or failed an attempt. Evgeny Markov, he only made 2 attempts because he failed on his second one at 866. And so far, everyone else has gotten to at least his third lift.
And that's really what you want. You know, the third lift should be the risky lift, if you like. This second lift is about getting as high a placing as possible. Obviously, if Rob gets this, he shoots himself back into first place. Not too many people can overtake him, and then he's got the opportunity to go for broke on lift number 3.
936 on the bar for Rob Kearney, trying to take the lead from JF Caron.
Big deep breath, braces hard into that belt. He needs to drive hard now. Come on, Rob. He's got this. Excellent lift there by Rob Kearney.
936 is good for Kearney. He has the lead, and he still has 1 lift remaining.
That was big. I'm not going to repeat what he just said then, but he's happy. $900+ on a squat is just massive.
Bobby Thompson, Rob Kearney, Martins Licis, and JF Caron are the men left lifting. Thompson and Kearney have both made 2 lifts. Licis and Caron have only made 1, and now Martins Licis is going to step back up.
Licis and Caron. And it looks like it's going to be Licis on his second lift.
Licis obviously coming in very heavy with his first lift. He didn't make it look as easy as JF Caron made his first lift. So now I think he's going to try and focus on securing second place.
And again, that is the Dragons' MO. Just be consistently in the top 3, and you're going to set yourself up nicely.
He knows he doesn't need to win this event, but he wants second or third place. Big points, starts him off perfectly.
Kearney looking a lot smoother on that lift than he did on the first one, where he needed that double bounce to kind of get out of the hole.
Yeah, he did. That first lift, when you go from the warm-ups to the platform, it's always very nerve-wracking. It's getting used to different equipment, different environments. Good solid lift there by Rob.
Licis is going to try to beat Kearney by 5 pounds, pardon me. It looks like 941 now on the bar for Martins.
Did run into a little problem getting ready for this. A little injury, but he seems to be healed good from that. So I think he can do this one. I think this was going to look easier than the one before. Well, it's down 941 pounds on that bar.
Licis, the man who won the first ever strongman competition at the Rogue Invitational back in October, and had just an absolutely incredible performance to close out that competition in the stone over the hitching post, where he just sprinted through those 4 stones, and that's what gave him the win over Tom Stoltman.
Some controlled breathing there from Licis.
This will be Licis' second attempt. He opened at 9:01. This was his first attempt.
Good solid first lift. You know, it wasn't as fast as JF Caron, but still, I think he believes coming into this, second or third place is perfect for him. He knows there's no big weakness. I think if he can get second place on this squat, he's going to go into the dumbbell extremely happy. He's always thinking about the overall score. He's not someone that chases too many world records. He likes to win competitions, and to do that, you can't have a weakness.
Here comes the Dragon. 9:41 for the lead here.
Here we go then. Big lift for Martins Licis. He wants to win the Arnold for the first time.
And 941 will count.
Everybody gets it. That is a huge lift for the Dragon.
Licis, with his second attempt, takes the lead. Now he, Kearney, and Thompson are down to their final lifts. JF Caron still has 1 lift, or pardon me, 2 lifts remaining.
That was a huge lift. He had to work hard, but it puts him into first place.
Now Bobby Thompson is going to make his third and final attempt, and it looks like he's keeping that 9. He's going to jump up now, 946. So 5 pounds better than we just saw Licis lift.
This is really interesting. He's looking, he believes he can get this, and I think he believes that was the limit for Licis. It's only a small increase on what Licis did. Thompson, if he gets this, what a replacement to have. You take out such an incredible strongman like Kieliszkowski, but Thompson is just improved and improved. And when it comes to these heavy static events, which we love to see at the Arnold, this is what the Arnold is all about. Who is the strongest? Not who's the fastest, not who's the fittest, but who is the strongest strongman.
Take a look back at Bobby Thompson's second attempt at 9:01.
It's a really interesting lift, this one. Very, very fast out the bottom. Just slowed down a little at the top. And you can just see there, he just looked maybe a little dizzy. Huge amount of pressure building up on the body with these weights. And the suits also, they compress you, they can, you know, send your blood pressure up a little higher, make you a little dizzy. Bobby's someone that is willing to put himself on the line. He puts his body on the line every single time he competes. Gives 100% no matter what.
And as you mentioned, he was added when Kieliszkowski had to withdraw, and so far Bobby Thompson is doing a heck of a job here in event number 1.
Yeah, if Bobby gets out of this in top 3, he's going to be a happy man as well. He knows he could contend with people like Luke Stoltman to win the log. His dumbbell's very strong. His frame carry's improving. I think if there's one weakness for Bobby, it could come down to the stones, but let's see how this last squat looks.
9:46, third and final lift for the American Nightmare. Bobby Thompson looking to put himself in the lead here.
This could be a very important lift in the overall scores, because if Thompson can go ahead of Licis, it keeps Tom Stoltman that little bit closer in the overall battle.
Final lift for Bobby Thompson, 9:46.
Strong at the bottom again.
And he has it.
He gets it. Great lift there from Bobby Thompson. It looked better than his second.
9:46, he is your leader. And he is fired up, and why not?
Thank you, Mateusz. Thank you.
Yes.
And sending a thank you to Mateusz for indirectly giving him the opportunity to compete here. And that leaves us with 3 men left: Rob Kearney, Martins Licis, and J.F. Caron. And as you said, Laz, this one looked better than his second.
It really did. Look at this. The power out of the bottom. He looked like he had more left. Look at this. Fast out the bottom. Had to work a little in that middle sticking point. But there was none of that dizziness and, you know, slowing down at the top there. That was a very solid lift. Big, big points potentially now for Bobby on event number 1.
But J.F. Caron is back out now. 9:51 for Caron. This will be his second of 3 attempts, and his lift at 9:16. It was so fast, it was criminal.
It was incredible.
Bobby Thompson making the most of his opportunity. He's currently in first place with 3 athletes still in the.
He really did make that first lift look impressive. And, you know, we said he'd probably jump in around the 9:50 mark for this second lift. I still expect this to move. Maybe not quite as speedy, but I'm very, very confident he can get it.
Have the microphone for the rest of my life. So how's this going?
I think it's going great. It's a good show.
You think somebody's going to hit 1,000?
I think one of our athletes can do it, but I don't think he's going to have to go that far.
We'll see.
J.F. Caron looking to put himself back in the lead here. Remember, both Martins Licis and Rob Kearney have yet to make their third and final attempts, but Caron can really put a stranglehold on that top spot with this next lift and put some pressure on both Licis and Kearney. In case you missed Caron's first lift, and even if you were watching, if you glanced away for a second, you may have missed it because it was that fast. Take one more look at his opening attempt at 9:16.
9:16 should just not move like this. He has great history, though, in powerlifting movements. An incredible deadlifter, an incredible squatter. He's put some huge numbers up Raw where they're not allowed to use the lifting suits.
In this group at 39 years old.
Caron squeezing into that super suit. Then he will make his way to the rack to try and put himself back on top of the standings for this event. 951 pounds. It's resting on that barbell.
JF is waiting for the day they have the squat and the deadlift.
He will be extremely dangerous if that happens.
It is a process getting all strapped into the gear. Oh yeah, seriously, people, I think he's still going to make this look easy.
2020, JF Caron finished 4th at the Arnold Classic. He'll be looking to move up from that position.
Here comes Caron.
Strongest man looking to reclaim first place with the squat of 951 pounds.
Second attempt for Caron, 951. This to take the lead.
He's getting himself under the bar, grabs the bar nice and tight. You can see he was putting the chalk on his hands, magnesium, just to make sure they're dry. Pulls the bar in, tights those traps, upper back as firm as possible. Man, he's to drive hard.
I mean, get out of here.
Oh, my goodness. That was easier than the first rep. His second rep, there was no mistake. There was no shift at the bottom. He was used to the bounce on the pads, and that must be terrifying for the other athletes.
It's terrifying for me watching a human being move that much weight that fast.
That was seriously incredible. 950 pounds should not move that easily.
JF Caron in his second attempt at 951.
And what he's doing there is saying, you guys can put what you like on the bar. I am winning this event.
That is incredible. JF Caron just dominating this event. And like you said, Laz, I don't know who's going to beat him now at this point, because that looked too easy at 951 pounds.
No one is making their lifts look like they can challenge that.
Well, Martins is going to try to temporarily put himself back in the lead. 956 on the bar for Martins. But remember, Caron still has one lift to go, as does Rob Kearney.
Caron made 951 look easy. I think he would have 1,000 pounds in his tank, Magnus. But as you and the judge, Carl, mentioned, does he have to do that?
Yeah, might not have to do it. But I would,
And there is Martins Licis,
really confident in what he's doing.
who once again is in position for a top 3 finish.
Yeah, this is a sensible jump. It's a small jump. He didn't look like he had a huge amount more after the second lift, but it's still doable. He needs to make sure he gets everything right. And Martins will be thinking about the overall score as always. I think he knows Caron is untouchable right now. There's no point in trying to get into a dogfight, pushing as hard as you possibly can to try and get that first place. At the end of the event, it only makes 1 point difference. He'll be focusing on the overall. He knows he's got some incredible events.
This is Licis' second attempt at 941. Now, this is an incredible performance as well, but then when you compare it to JF Caron...
Oh, this was fantastic. This lift was huge, but you can see from the speed difference, it's night and day.
Licis is just about ready for his third and final lift. 956 pounds would put him in the lead by 5 pounds over JF Caron. Remember, Rob Kearney has only made 2 attempts like Caron. Now, Kearney's last successful lift was at 936. He currently sits in 4th place.
This is potentially the most important lift of the day. Looking at the scoreboard, with Tom Stoltman there in 6th place. Licis wants to be higher than 3rd.
Multiple world champion in powerlifting. So many times I can't count that many times. What do you think of this?
Wow, this is awesome. This heavyweight going up, and it's a great show.
Martins is ready.
Yeah, it's awesome.
He will make his way to the chair to get his knees wrapped.
So next weight, 956 pounds. For the man who's here, he's there, he's everywhere. It's the Dragon coming to this
Licis
double
growing up in
G
Latvia before he moved to California in his 20s and then
Final lift.
trained by lifting stones at his grandparents' farm. And then Ode Haugen took him under his wing, and here he is.
I remember the first time I saw Licis was at World's Strongest Man in 2016. And you could just tell there was this air of confidence about him. He just looked like an athlete that believed he could go to the top.
Quite the character as well, if you haven't been able to figure that out. He's appeared in some nationally televised commercials here in the United States. This guy knows how to have a little fun.
He's a great character.
Fun to watch.
But he can be very serious when he needs to be, and then he can have a joke and a laugh away from competition. Very loving human being as well. Very supportive of many, many causes. He's a good person to have around, but a terrible person to compete against because you know you're in for an absolute dogfight.
Good person to have around unless you're competing in a strongman competition. Then you prefer to have him on the sidelines.
I'm actually very, very pleased to see him back in these major competitions. It was whenever you get great athletes, it's always a shame when they're out injured. So good to see he's made such a good recovery and now back contending these major shows.
And as we talked about earlier, he is going to be healthy, barring anything unforeseen this season. We saw what he was able to accomplish when he was 100% at the Rogue Invitational. Only gotten more training under his belt since then.
Don't put any pressure on the back.
There's Ode Haugen.
We're in a very special phase of strongman right now where we have so many talented athletes. I mean, there's guys that aren't here today that are rising fast and, new stars that we'll see in a couple of years. I think we're going to see a number of impressive battles. When you look at the end of someone's career, when they've won everything, they go down as a great. If he wins this title today, he has won every major show there is to win. And then it's about doing it multiple times.
We mentioned that this is the first time in more than 10 years that we haven't had a returning champion. It's the first time since 2014 that a guy named Zydrunas Savickas, Brian Shaw, or Hafthor Bjornsson won't win this thing. I mean, those three were a fixture atop the podium.
We've only ever had 7 winners of the Arnold Classic. Martins wants to make it number 8.
9:56 now for Licis. Final attempt to take the lead here.
Big, big lift. Let's see what he can do. How much does he want this title?
$9.56.
Come on, Martins.
And he will get it.
Great lift there from Martins. No pausing at the bottom that time. He came up better, timed the touch nicely. Big, big lift there for the Dragon. 956 pounds, puts himself back into first place.
May not win the event because remember Caron and Kearney are still lurking out there. But a top 3 finish for Licis with 4 events remaining. right where he wants to be.
Absolutely. This was better than his second lift as well. The second lift, he almost stopped at the bottom. Timed this one nicely, kept driving hard, knees, hips, everything stayed perfect. Absolutely beautiful squat to watch.
Rob Kearney's going to be up next for his third and final attempt, and then we will see what JF Caron decides to do. So 961 is going to go on the bar for Rob Kearney. Kearney opened at 856, then jumped all the way up to 936, made that. Now ready for his third and final lift, 961 pounds to jump ahead of Licis by 5.
He's done this in the gym. Now's the time to make it count. That shows the type of champion he is. Coming back, taking that lift. He maximizes his performance in competition. That's what's so impressive about Martins Licis. You don't see him doing ridiculous things in the gym. He saves the big lifts for when it counts in competition, and that is a skill, to be able to bring your best on game day. Rob Kearney looked very impressive in the squat so far.
And as you mentioned earlier, one of the lightest athletes that we have in the field, just listed at 285 pounds, the lightest athlete that we have in the field, but here he is looking for a top 3 finish in this 1-rep max squat.
I think he kind of likes being the underdog as well, you know, proving that you don't have to be this 6'5", 400-pound giant. You can be shorter, you can be under 6 foot, you can be under 300 pounds, and you can still be one of the strongest men on the planet. Huge inspiration to many, many people. Rob told me his first ever competition, he came dead last. His next competition, all he wanted to do was not come last. Then the next competition, he wanted to come 8th, and then 5th, and then maybe get 3rd place onto the podium. And he's just steadily chipped away and improved every single year.
961 for Rob Kearney, third and final lift for him. If he hits this, he'll do no worse than second.
Rob Kearney under the bar, 961 pounds.
And Kearney has it!
Yes! That's incredible there, and he is super happy. I thought at one stage he wasn't going to make the lift. Kept driving hard. Up it comes. That is a monstrous lift for Rob Kearney, and big points.
Guarantees himself at least a second place finish in this event. So JF Caron will have to make his third and final attempt if he wants to win this. One more look at Rob Kearney's 961-pound squat.
He fought hard for that. It wasn't perfect by any means, but he dug deep, he kept driving hard, and he stood back up with just a ridiculous weight on his back.
.966 is all Caron has got to do to win this thing, and that's exactly what he's going to try to attempt. And given the way that 951 went up, I mean, this just seems like it's going to be a formality.
It does. He's still
like a gimme in golf.
You know, as an athlete, I've been in that position before where you know anything can happen, but looking logically, everything going normally, this is going to go up, no problem at all. His first lift was unbelievable. His second lift was even better.
And this is that second lift at 951.
And now this is only a small jump up. You have to think he's going to make it look easy.
Going up to 966 pounds.
I've watched a lot of people squat different weights in my life, and I've never seen any weight that ridiculous go up that fast.
It truly was something special. I mean, he's done it so many times. We watched him at the Rogue Invitational on the deadlift, and it was just, he was head and shoulders above everyone else.
Well, now the key for Caron is, and you think back to the Rogue Invitational, great performance in event 1, but then the slide down the overall leaderboard started.
Absolutely. This is where, you know, he needs to come in and win this event now, and then he needs to focus on event number 2. It's all very well placing first. What you can't do then is come 8th, 9th on the next event. He has the ability to really challenge for a podium. He needs to make sure every single event is spot on.
If for some reason fails, Kearney has no squat. I don't really see him fail, but sometimes things can't go wrong.
And I think when we look at it, the real difference, Martins had to bring his absolute best on the squat to get out of this what he did. And you know Martins will bring his absolute best on the log lift and on the dumbbell. JF Caron could win the squat here going at 85, 90%. He then needs to make sure, saving that energy, he then brings 100% on those next 5 events. He can't then be 85, 90% on the next events. But those are for later. Now we are looking at the squat.
Well, we wondered if we might see a 1,000-pound squat. I think, given what we've seen, it's
there.
It's definitely there for JF Caron. He's not going to need it.
No, he would be foolish to go for it now.
Would be a great treat for the fans. But
I'd like to see it, and I'm sure you would.
100%, I'd love to see that.
Everyone watching at home.
I think JF is wisely saying, I only need to add 5 pounds to get a win. I have 4 events remaining, so let's just do that.
Absolutely. Win the squat at 85, 90%, bring 100%. For the remaining 4 events.
JF Caron back to the rack, 966 pounds, 3rd and final attempt. This is for the event win.
Magnus Ver asking who wants to see it. We all want to see it, and we want to see it look easy.
And that is good, and an event win for JF Caron.
Absolutely brilliant. Even Hafthor Bjornsson is impressed with that one.
966 pounds for JF Caron. He wins the opening event, sets himself up nicely going into event number 2. And it looked like a warm-up round for him.
It really did. That was some of the most impressive squatting I've ever seen. A great field of lifters. Licis and Kearney really need a mention there. They were both extremely impressive. But the man of the moment, winning with an easy 966 pounds.
And then the reaction from Hafthor Bjornsson. You definitely got to raise your eyebrows at that one, because that was impressive.
It would have been good to see what someone like Hafthor could have done in his prime in strongman on the squat, but JF Caron takes a bow. The squat is an easy win for the Canadian.
So the good news for a guy like Tom Stoltman, who finishes 6th, that he was only 3 spots back of Martins Licis.
Absolutely. This is probably the biggest talking point of the whole competition. Tom Stoltman potentially could have come 10th in this one. Unfortunately for his brother Luke has come 10th. That is a terrible start for Luke. But for Tom taking 6th place, he'll be extremely happy with that. This was all about damage control. Licis was only 3 places ahead. We have still a big battle ahead of us.
And we'll get to see now if JF Caron, who once again has an event win and will put himself atop the overall standings after the first event, if he can stay up there, because as we said, go back to the Rogue Invitational. Great start, and then the slide down the overall leaderboard happened. Now, a lot of that was because of he ran into problems on the Wheel of Pain. That's not here.
Yeah, different events, and they're not bad events for Caron this week. You know, his dumbbell pressing isn't too bad. He has a tremendous grip. If he can get up that ramp on the frame carry, he could score big points.
So Licis was the first man to go above 900 pounds. He will take third place. Kearney's going to wind up in second.
I mean, these were
961 for him.
Absolutely incredible, but look at the speed difference.
And then finally, I mean, in a league by himself in this event, J.F. Caron at 966.
966 still looked like he was warming up. I definitely believe 1,000 pounds was there today.
Your standings, J.F. Caron at 966 wins the event. Rob Kearney finishes second, and it's Martins Licis with another top 3 finish. Bobby Thompson and Oleksii Novikov rounding out the top 5 as they are the only other men to go above 900 pounds. Let's go down to the competition floor. Kiki Dixon is with J.F. Caron.
JF, there was so much buzz about this event with the back squat. When it was announced, how confident were you that you'd be walking away with the win?
I was very confident, you know. I had big number in the gym. I'm a quiet guy, you know, I don't show my number. But I was prepared for over 1,000 pounds today. And I know we have many good squatters here. But you know, it's new event too. Then we have to try this, and maybe some guys will have 2 more conservative. Many guys hit 3 attempts and good lift. Then I think the next time it will be much bigger weight.
Well, congratulations. It was incredible. You also are so formidable with the deadlift. If you had to choose deadlift or back squat, which way do you go?
Both.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you, Kiki.
J.F. Caron, your winner in the 1-rep max back squat, 966 pounds. And as you heard him say, if we had a deadlift in here too, put that guy on the podium right now.
He would be, when the Arnolds make that happen, he's going to be there.
Let's talk about the man who finished in third place right now. Martins Licis, someone who came in as a favorite just because he's so good across all the events. He has to be really happy with the fact that he finished inside the top 3 yet again.
Absolutely. That's his game plan. It's that consistent performance. And you can see watching there, he just manages to bring his best. We don't see those big lifts in the gym. He comes out, and he had to work hard for that third lift. Let's not pretend, you know, he worked hard. JF was just on another level. But the big issue, or the big surprise for me was Tom Stoltman. Tom Stoltman got the maximum he could out of that. He was only 3 places behind Licis. I think that means we have a competition on our hands, and we could see a real tight battle.
Now, what about Rob Kearney, who's sitting there in second place after this event? How does the rest of this competition line up for him?
Well, when you look at Rob in the past, I mean, his log lift used to be exceptional. I spoke to him this morning. He's saying his log lift's down since he's had his tricep injury. The good news for him is he's got a very good event in the dumbbell press, where his good arm is the arm he's going to be using. His stone lifting is very good. The one weaker event for him could be the frame carry at the end. He doesn't have the best grip compared to some of the other guys. So that's where I expect to see him drop points, but a perfect start for Rob there.
Yeah, great performance from Rob Kearney and a fantastic performance from J.F. Caron. Let's take a look now at your official points standings after that first event. The J.F. Caron with 10 points for the win. Kearney and Licis with 9 and then 8 points. Bobby Thompson sits in 4th. Novikov is 5th. And then there's Tom Stoltman, 4.5 points for him. So only 3.5 points back of Martins Licis right now in the overall standings. One event is down here at the Arnold Strongman Classic, and it was a blast to watch. 966 pounds going up like it was nothing in the 1-rep max back squat. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, event number 2. But the Dragon roars, but J.F. Caron steals the show. Rogue Iron Game coming up next.